In the shadows of Earth's orbit, an object defies logic and explanation. It's not man-made, and it shouldn't be there. Known as the Black Knight satellite, it's been tracked for decades. Photographed, analyzed, covered up, but never explained. Could this be an ancient alien probe? A forgotten technology? Or the biggest secret ever kept from humanity? In 1899, Nikola Tesla was conducting experiments with a high-voltage transmitter when he received a signal that stunned him. He described it as repetitive and intelligent, unlike any natural source he had encountered. It didn't behave like static, nor did it resemble any Earth-based frequency. Tesla believed it could be communication from another world. And thus, the mystery began, long before any satellite ever launched. Years later, in the 1920s, amateur radio operators began encountering strange phenomena. They would send out signals and receive them back seconds or even minutes later. These long-delayed echoes defied the known physics of Earth's atmosphere and radio propagation. No one could explain where the signals were bouncing from. But some speculated an artificial satellite, one that wasn't ours. In 1954, the media caught wind of something peculiar. Newspapers reported the discovery of a mysterious dark satellite orbiting Earth, despite the fact that no nation had launched anything yet. The object was allegedly in polar orbit, a trajectory impossible for our technology at the time. Both the US and Soviet Union denied involvement. Still, radar logs didn't lie. The Pentagon reportedly tracked the object multiple times, but it moved erratically. It didn't follow a stable orbit, and sometimes it would vanish from detection completely. Yet it always returned, in the same trajectory, as if it were scanning or observing Earth. This was no simple piece of space junk. It seemed alive, or at least intelligent. At the time, the public was still unfamiliar with space-age terms like satellites and orbital mechanics. But some insiders whispered of a foreign object not of human origin. Scientists quietly proposed that the long-delayed echoes from decades earlier were connected. Perhaps this object wasn't new, but had been orbiting Earth for centuries, or even millennia. A Scottish astronomer named Duncan Lennon later analyzed those radio signals and claimed to decipher a message. According to him, it contained a star map pointing to the Epsilon Bootes system, and a message from an ancient space probe. Critics ridiculed his findings, but believers saw it as a direct clue. Was someone, or something, out there, watching since ancient times? This early chapter set the tone for decades of speculation. The Black Knight satellite wasn't just a theory. It had physical sightings, signal evidence, and military logs behind it. And the deeper one looked, the stranger the story became. Why was this being ignored by the scientific community? What were they afraid of uncovering? The silence, perhaps, was more telling than the noise. In December of 1998, during the STS-88 mission of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, something unexpected happened. While astronauts were installing modules on the International Space Station, photographs captured a strange, angular object floating in low Earth orbit. It wasn't a part of the station. It wasn't space debris. And it didn't look like anything ever seen before. The images, released briefly by NASA, showed a dark, asymmetrical structure. Its shape was bizarre, almost like a folded cloak or alien artifact. Immediately, speculation exploded across the internet. Many believed this was the Black Knight satellite finally caught on camera. For believers, this was no coincidence. It was evidence long denied. NASA responded quickly, claiming the object was a thermal blanket lost during the mission. According to them, it had floated away and was harmless. But independent analysts weren't convinced. They pointed out that the object's trajectory didn't match a free-floating object. It seemed controlled, as if maneuvering deliberately. Researchers noticed that the object remained in a steady orbit, not tumbling chaotically like a blanket would. Moreover, close analysis of the photos showed sharp edges and surfaces, not the soft curves of fabric. Some even claimed to see metallic reflections on its surface, as if it were engineered. NASA never addressed these inconsistencies directly. The timing was also strange. The STS-88 mission was one of the first to assemble the ISS, marking a new era of space presence. And suddenly, this object appears, hovering silently near the construction zone. Could it have been observing? Or even warning? Theories of extraterrestrial monitoring resurfaced with intensity. Many of the original images were quietly removed from NASA's public archives. This led to accusations of deliberate censorship. However, once something is on the internet, it never truly disappears. Copies of the photos kept circulating, and with each reanalysis, more questions arose. Why lie about a blanket? Why hide the files? For many, the STS-88 incident wasn't just another strange anomaly. It was a revelation. Proof that something is out there, and that powerful organizations are working hard to keep it buried. Was this the first time the Black Knight had been seen with clarity? Or just the first time we caught a glimpse of a secret that's been hiding in plain sight? One of the most compelling pieces of the Black Knight mystery is its alleged orbit. Early military reports and radar logs describe the object moving in a polar trajectory, orbiting Earth from pole to pole. This is significant, because during the 1950s, no nation possessed the capability to place satellites in polar orbit. It was an orbital path reserved for something far more advanced. Polar orbits are strategically ideal for global observation. A satellite in this path can eventually scan the entire surface of Earth as the planet rotates beneath it. Military and scientific satellites use this today for reconnaissance and Earth mapping. But in the early Cold War years, neither the United States nor the Soviet Union had achieved this, and yet the Black Knight had. This unexplained orbit caught the attention of NORAD and other defense systems. The object wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time, it was doing the impossible. If no human agency launched it, then who did? And more importantly, when? Some researchers have proposed that the satellite predates modern civilization entirely, possibly by thousands of years. Further deepening the mystery, the object's trajectory would occasionally shift. It didn't behave like a passive satellite or defunct debris. It acted like something alive, changing course, adjusting position, and avoiding detection when necessary. Multiple radar operators reported erratic patterns. And yet, no official follow-up was ever made public. During a 1960 military press conference, the Pentagon admitted detecting an unidentified dark satellite. The media at the time ran with the story, but it was quickly buried under denials and redirections. Some insiders later suggested the satellite was intentionally ignored to avoid panic. But among high-level intelligence circles, it became an open secret. The question remained, how could something be orbiting Earth with no launch history, no known design, and no allegiance to any country? Polar orbit anomalies are rare, and this one was persistent. Engineers and astronomers outside the mainstream began to speak up. If this object was artificial, it meant someone had mastered space long before we had. The implications were staggering. If the Black Knight had been in orbit since ancient times, it wasn't just technology, it was legacy. A remnant of a civilization far more advanced than ours, perhaps not even from Earth. The polar orbit wasn't a glitch. It was a message. Someone, or something, had been watching from above for a very long time. Some researchers argue that the Black Knight satellite isn't just old, it's ancient. According to interpretations of radio data analyzed by astronomer Duncan Lunnan in the 1970s, the satellite may have been in Earth's orbit for 13,000 years. Lunnan claimed to have deciphered a message hidden in radio echoes first detected in the 1920s, linking it directly to this object. The message? Coordinates pointing to the Epsilon Bootes star system. Lunnan's findings were ridiculed by mainstream astronomers, but the echoes he analyzed were real and documented. His translation described a probe sent from a civilization orbiting Epsilon Bootes, sent to observe Earth's development. The story was eerily consistent with modern ideas about alien monitoring systems. Was this satellite a guardian? Or a jailer? The implications were profound. If the satellite truly dates back 13,000 years, it predates every known human civilization. That means it was orbiting Earth during the Ice Age, long before Sumer, Egypt, or the Maya. Some theorists link this to the myth of a lost golden age, or even to Atlantis. They propose that Earth has been visited before, and the Black Knight is a remnant, a silent observer from those forgotten encounters. Connections to the ancient astronaut hypothesis grew stronger. Legends across multiple cultures speak of sky gods who came from the stars, bringing knowledge and technology. In some texts, these beings departed suddenly, promising to return. Could the Black Knight be part of this return? Or was it left behind to monitor humanity's rise, or its collapse? The object's dark, almost stealth-like appearance also resembles descriptions from ancient mythologies. Hindu texts mention vimanas, flying chariots shrouded in black clouds. The Dogon tribe of Mali speaks of knowledge granted by beings from Sirius, with precise astronomical data impossible to have known at the time. Could these stories all point to the same source? There's also a theory that the satellite activates only when humanity reaches certain technological thresholds. That it's been dormant, observing silently, and is now reawakening. Some suggest its recent appearances coincide with the launch of space stations and moon missions. It's not trying to be seen, but perhaps it's trying to warn. This timeline, spanning 13,000 years, shatters conventional historical narratives. If true, the Black Knight satellite isn't just a mystery. It's a message. A remnant of a greater story buried under millennia of lost knowledge. And the deeper we dig, the more this object challenges everything we think we know about Earth's place in the cosmos. One of the most compelling pieces of the Black Knight mystery is its alleged orbit. Early military reports and radar logs describe the object moving in a polar trajectory, orbiting Earth from pole to pole. This is significant, because during the 1950s, no nation possessed the capability to place satellites in polar orbit. It was an orbital path reserved for something far more advanced. Polar orbits are strategically ideal for global observation. A satellite in this path can eventually scan the entire surface of Earth as the planet rotates beneath it. Military and scientific satellites use this today for reconnaissance and Earth mapping. But in the early Cold War years, neither the United States nor the Soviet Union had achieved this, and yet the Black Knight had. This unexplained orbit caught the attention of NORAD and other defense systems. The object wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time, it was doing the impossible. If no human agency launched it, then who did? And more importantly, when? Some researchers have proposed that the satellite predates modern civilization entirely, possibly by thousands of years. Further deepening the mystery, the object's trajectory would occasionally shift. It didn't behave like a passive satellite or defunct debris. It acted like something alive, changing course, adjusting position, and avoiding detection when necessary. Multiple radar operators reported erratic patterns. And yet, no official follow-up was ever made public. During a 1960 military press conference, the Pentagon admitted detecting an unidentified dark satellite. The media at the time ran with the story, but it was quickly buried under denials and redirections. Some insiders later suggested the satellite was intentionally ignored to avoid panic. But among high-level intelligence circles, it became an open secret. The question remained, how could something be orbiting Earth with no launch history, no known design, and no allegiance to any country? Polar orbit anomalies are rare, and this one was persistent. Engineers and astronomers outside the mainstream began to speak up. If this object was artificial, it meant someone had mastered space long before we had. The implications were staggering. If the Black Knight had been in orbit since ancient times, it wasn't just technology, it was legacy. A remnant of a civilization far more advanced than ours, perhaps not even from Earth. The polar orbit wasn't a glitch. It was a message. Someone, or something, had been watching from above for a very long time. If the Black Knight satellite isn't natural, and wasn't made by us, then what is it doing up there? One of the most recurring theories is that it serves as a surveillance device. Its polar orbit allows it to scan every part of the Earth's surface, a capability unmatched even by modern spy satellites. But who, or what, is it surveilling for? And why now? Some researchers suggest it could be transmitting data, not to Earth, but from Earth to another location. The idea that it may be a kind of cosmic recorder has surfaced in multiple hypotheses. An ancient beacon, silently collecting information about human behavior, climate changes, war patterns, or even spiritual development. Observing, but never interfering. Others believe the satellite is not entirely autonomous. That it's still active, possibly responding to certain stimuli. Changes in frequency bands or atmospheric energy spikes may trigger responses. Some even link UFO sightings to sudden adjustments in the satellite's orbit, suggesting coordination between it and unidentified aerial phenomena. One fringe but persistent theory is that the Black Knight is a watcher probe left behind by an ancient extraterrestrial civilization, possibly the same beings referenced in Sumerian, Egyptian, and Mesoamerican myths. It may function as part of a galactic surveillance grid, designed to observe species evolution and readiness for contact. If so, humanity may be under evaluation. Another line of thought is technological inheritance. That the satellite is dormant now, but could one day reactivate. It may contain information, tools, or even biological material from an ancient era. A cosmic time capsule drifting quietly above us. The moment we achieve the right level of consciousness, or technology, it might trigger a response. Some theorists propose the object is made of metamaterials, substances not found on Earth, capable of extreme heat resistance, cloaking, or anti-gravity behavior. If that's the case, analyzing even a fragment of it could leapfrog human technology by centuries. Perhaps this is why powerful governments may be racing to retrieve it, or are already in possession of parts. Ultimately, the question isn't just what is the Black Knight satellite, but what it represents. A probe? A warning? A monitor? Or the final breadcrumb in a trail of clues left by a civilization far older, and far wiser, than our own? Whatever the answer, it's orbiting silently above us. Watching. Waiting. And challenging the very idea that we are alone. The Black Knight satellite challenges every boundary of accepted history. It's an object older than our space age, behaving with purpose and intelligence, yet officially dismissed as debris. But the evidence, from Tesla's signals to NASA's photographs, refuses to fade. Something is up there, and it's not ours. That alone should reshape how we see the universe. And ourselves. If it's a remnant of alien contact, then humanity is not at the beginning of the space story, we're at the middle. A middle in which watchers, messengers, or probes have long preceded us. And their presence, veiled by science and silence, is slowly being uncovered. What we once called myth may now be memory, stored in orbit above our heads. The denials, the media blackouts, the redirection, they only deepen the mystery. Governments may fear the consequences of truth. If a 13,000-year-old satellite is real, then religions tremble, history books crumble, and science must surrender to the unknown. It's not just about extraterrestrials. It's about control of knowledge, and who decides what is real. The Black Knight isn't just an anomaly. It's a mirror. It reflects how little we truly know about our past, our planet, and what lies beyond. The fact that it exists, if even a fraction of the evidence holds, rewrites everything. And perhaps that's the greatest danger, not the object itself, but what it forces us to confront. In a time of deep surveillance and digital control, the idea that we too are being watched isn't new. But what if that surveillance didn't start in the 21st century, but in the Ice Age? What if the real observers have never left, and we're just now awakening to their presence? The Black Knight may not be the first. Only the most visible. Above us, beyond the clouds, it waits. Not speaking. Not landing. Just orbiting, endlessly. As if waiting for something. Or someone. Perhaps a moment when humanity stops looking down. And finally dares to look up. What will we find, when the silence breaks? The enigma of the Black Knight satellite remains. But maybe that's the point. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only awakened. And once seen, they change everything. Forever.